The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a harsh glow on the chipped tiles of Westview High's bathroom. 16-year-old Mia Larson stood frozen, her heart hammering as three girls circled her like vultures. Their laughter echoed, sharp and cruel, as they tugged at her worn sweater, mocking its frayed cuffs. Mia's hazel eyes darted to the door, but it felt miles away. She clutched her sketchbook tighter, her only shield, as tears stung the corners of her eyes. This wasn't the first time she'd been cornered, but today felt different, darker, more dangerous. Outside, unbeknownst to her, her father's SWAT team was running drills just a block away, their radios crackling with routine chatter. Fate was about to collide in ways no one could predict. Mia had always been the quiet one, the girl who faded into the background with her sketchbook and oversized hoodies. Her family had moved to this small town a year ago after her mom's sudden death in a car accident. The loss left Mia and her dad, Tom, clinging to each other like life rafts in a storm. Tom, a seasoned SWAT officer, threw himself into work, while Mia buried herself in her art, drawing worlds where she felt safe. At school, though, she was an easy target. Her shyness, her thrift store clothes, and her habit of eating lunch alone in the art room made her a magnet for girls like Kaylee, the ringleader with a smile as sharp as a blade. That morning started like any other. Mia woke to the smell of burnt toast, Tom's attempt at breakfast before his early shift. "You're stronger than you know, kiddo," he'd said, ruffling her hair before heading out. Mia nodded, but the words felt hollow. At school, she kept her head down, dodging Kaylee's crew in the halls. But during lunch, she'd lingered too long in the art room, losing track of time while sketching a portrait of her mom. That's when Kaylee and her friends found her. "Think you're too good for us, weirdo?" Kaylee had sneered, snatching Mia's sketchbook. Before Mia could react, they were dragging her toward the bathroom, their grip bruising her arms. Inside the bathroom, Mia's breath hitched as Kaylee flipped through her sketchbook, tearing pages with a theatrical flourish. "Look at this garbage," Kaylee taunted, tossing a drawing of Mia's mom to the floor. The other girls, Tessa and Lauren, laughed, but their eyes flickered with unease. Mia's voice trembled as she begged, "Please, stop." Her plea only fueled Kaylee's cruelty. "You're nothing," Kaylee spat, shoving Mia against the sink. The cold porcelain dug into her back, and for a moment, Mia felt like she was drowning in her own silence. She wanted to scream, to fight, but her body wouldn't move. All she could think of was her mom's voice, soft and steady. "You're enough, Mia." Meanwhile, half a mile away, Tom Larson was leading his SWAT team through a training exercise in an abandoned warehouse. The team moved like a well-oiled machine, practicing breach tactics for a mock hostage scenario. Tom's radio crackled with updates, but his mind wandered to Mia. He'd noticed her growing quieter lately, her smiles rarer. Guilt gnawed at him for working long hours, leaving her to navigate high school alone. As his team reset for another drill, his phone buzzed with a text from Mia's art teacher, Mrs. Carter. Mia didn't show up for class. "Everything okay?" Tom's gut twisted. Mia never skipped art. He radioed his team to wrap up early and headed toward the school, a bad feeling settling in his chest. Back in the bathroom, Mia's fear was turning to desperation. Kaylee had escalated, grabbing a pair of scissors from her bag and waving them menacingly. "Maybe we should cut her hair," she said, her voice dripping with malice. Tessa and Lauren hesitated, exchanging nervous glances. Mia's mind raced. She remembered her dad's stories about staying calm under pressure, how he'd talked down armed suspects with nothing but words. She took a shaky breath and said, "You don't have to do this, Kaylee. You're better than this." Her voice was soft but steady, surprising even herself. Kaylee faltered, the scissors trembling in her hand. For a split second, Mia saw doubt in her eyes. Kaylee wasn't as untouchable as she pretended. But the moment passed. Kaylee's face hardened, and she stepped closer, raising the scissors. That's when the bathroom door slammed open. Mrs. Carter stood there, her face a mix of fury and fear. "Enough," she shouted. The girls froze, and Kaylee dropped the scissors, muttering excuses. Mrs. Carter ushered Mia out, her arm around her shaking shoulders. "You're safe now," she whispered, but Mia didn't feel safe. She felt exposed, like her vulnerability was a wound everyone could see. Word of the incident spread fast. By the time Tom arrived at the school, The principal was already involved, and Kaylee and her friends were in the office, spinning a story about just joking around. Mia sat in the nurse's office, clutching her torn sketchbook, her eyes red but dry. Tom burst in, his SWAT vest still on, and pulled her into a hug. "I'm here, Mia," he said, his voice thick with emotion. She buried her face in his chest, the familiar smell of his aftershave grounding her. But the relief was fleeting. Mia knew this wasn't the end. Bullies didn't just stop, and her fear wouldn't vanish with one rescue. The next few days were a blur of challenges. At school, Mia faced whispers and stares. Some kids pitted her, others mocked her for snitching. Kaylee and her friends were suspended, but Mia dreaded their return. She stopped drawing, her sketchbook now a reminder of pain. At home, Tom tried to help, but his long shifts left little time for deep talks. Mia felt alone, trapped in a cycle of fear and shame. She started skipping lunch, hiding in the library to avoid the cafeteria's judgmental eyes. Tom, meanwhile, grappled with his own guilt. He'd trained to face armed threats, but he felt powerless against his daughter's pain. He reached out to Mrs. Carter, who suggested Mia join an after-school art therapy group. Mia resisted at first, terrified of opening up. But Mrs. Carter was persistent, and Tom gently pushed, saying, "You don't have to be strong alone." Reluctantly, Mia agreed to try. The art therapy group was small, just 5 kids and a counselor named Ms. Rivera. Mia sat quietly at first, sketching in the corner while others shared their stories. There was Jamal, who'd lost his brother to violence, Sarah, who struggled with anxiety, and others carrying their own invisible scars. Slowly, Mia began to talk, her voice barely above a whisper. She shared how her mom's death left a hole in her heart, how the bullying made her feel worthless. The group listened, their nods and quiet encouragement chipping away at her isolation. For the first time, Mia felt seen, not as the shy girl, but as someone with a story worth hearing. At home, Tom made changes too. He requested shorter shifts, carving out evenings to cook dinner with Mia or watch her favorite sci-fi movies. One night, he found her old sketchbook and placed it on the kitchen table. "Your mom loved your art," he said softly. "She'd hate to see you give it up." Mia's throat tightened, but she picked up a pencil, sketching a small star, the same one her mom used to draw on her lunch notes. It was a start. The biggest challenge came when Kaylee returned to school. Mia's stomach churned as she spotted her in the hall, but something had shifted. Kaylee's usual swagger was gone, replaced by a guarded look. Mia learned later that Kaylee's parents were going through a messy divorce, and her cruelty was a mask for her own pain. It didn't excuse her actions, but it made Mia see her differently. In art therapy, Ms. Rivera talked about empathy, how understanding others' struggles could break cycles of hurt. Mia wasn't ready to forgive, but she didn't want to carry hate either. One day, Mia found a note slipped into her locker, a torn page from her sketchbook, taped back together with a scrawled, "I'm sorry," in Kaylee's handwriting. Mia didn't know if it was genuine, but it felt like a crack in the wall between them. She decided to focus on herself, pouring her energy into art. She started a mural in the art room, a vibrant scene of stars and open roads, symbolizing hope and freedom. Other kids joined in, including Sarah and Jamal, turning it into a group project. The mural became a beacon, drawing attention from teachers and students alike. Months later, at the school's spring showcase, Mia's mural was unveiled. The crowd applauded, and Mia stood beside it, her heart full but steady. Tom was there, his SWAT team buddies cheering louder than anyone. Mia caught Kaylee in the crowd, watching quietly from the back. Their eyes met, and for a moment, Mia saw something like respect. She didn't need Kaylee's approval, though. She'd found her own strength, built from small victories and the support of those who truly cared. Mia's journey wasn't over, but she'd learned she could face the hard days. She wasn't just the shy girl anymore. She was an artist, a daughter, a friend. As she stood by her mural, she thought of her mom's words. "You're enough." For the first time, she believed it.